it was very unusual. All the topics were philosophical, but I've had the occasion to look at topics during earlier years. They weren't this way. There are topics on economics, on social sector, on political sector. So the topics that I have selected today are some from social sector, some philosophical, one economic, one political. So I have tried to cover all the segments. When I come to topics, I'll tell you. So when you pick up a topic, the first thing that you should consider is whether you understand the topic. If you don't understand the topic, don't go in for guesswork, because then you could be in trouble. I mean, if you don't understand any topic, then of course a different matter, then you pick up any topic the way it comes. But if you follow the preparations that we are doing right now, I don't think there will be a position for you not to understand any topic. I will have a few more sessions, if you all desire, on essay writing as well as general studies, for you to answer or to write an essay on any topic, any philosophical topic based on facts. You can't write until you know facts. But I will also try and tell you, address a topic where you are not fully conversant with facts. But the point is, you should understand. I remember distinctly, I mean, that's long ago. I'm talking of 1980, when multinationals were being talked about. And an essay came on multinational in India, and someone wrote an essay which was not related to multinational. Multinational by definition was something else, and he wrote something else. He obviously got 0. So the point that I'll give you examples as we go along. Today is the day where we'll take concrete topics, and I'll tell you what not to do in that also, apart from doing what to do. Then second is, once you select the topic, then you have to plan the topic. Now, this is very, very important. How do you plan the topic? Planning could be by way twofold. One, as I normally do when I get a topic, even now when I get a topic, I write questions. Starting with, what does this mean? That word mean. And various implications. Questions I'll write down randomly. After having written down the questions randomly, I try and sequence them logically before starting to write the essay. So instead of question, you can write points. I prefer questions because I then look at answering those questions and my essay comes up. So if your questions are logically placed, and we'll come to those questions when we take up specific topics, either point-wise or question-wise, we'll list out those topics or those questions or points, and then we will see how do we sequence them. Mr. Pradeep Kumar, please put your mic on mute. Thank you. So the next step has to be writing down either those points randomly to begin with, questions randomly to begin with, and then you sequence them logically. Once you start practicing this, and I would suggest you should practice writing a lot of essays, and if you follow this logic, you will see that the essay becomes much easier for you and easier for the person who's going to check that essay. Because if it follows logically, then he will understand what you've written. Otherwise, I have seen people having lots of thoughts, but they are unable to organize their thoughts. Then how do you start? As we discussed during the last session, we talk of introduction. Now, what should introduction have? To me, and as I said, I'll keep coming to these points when we talk of specific topics. One is explain the concept, if there is any in the question, in the topic. You have to explain what it means, what it is. And second part of introduction would be what you propose to do. So, for example, I'm now taking a specific question. It says, cure of all evils of democracy is more democracy. We'll discuss this at length. So if I were to write an essay, I will start by first trying to understand what democracy is. It has to come in the introduction. Then it talks about evils. So what are the evils of democracy? So I'm looking at two. You have to identify the important concepts in the topic. In this particular topic, democracy and evils are two. So what is democracy and what are the evils of democracy? And your essay will be all about curing those evils. So once you sequence it in this manner, introduction is done. And then you will go into the details of what evils are, what are the possible cure for these evils, and whether more democracy is. Now, I have sequenced these questions, these points. The essay is ready, actually. You keep elaborating on what I've just said now, and your essay will be ready. I will take, after we are through with what I have here, you throw up any topic to me. And I will try and make those questions, sequence them, and tell you how to introduce it. Then, as you go on writing, answering this question, there is something called embellishing. How do you embellish your? And there you can use quotations from big people, known people. You can give examples, or you can also use statistics. Now, it is not one or the other. You can use all three. But mind you, as you do that, you must yourself understand that quotation very well. And secondly, it should gel with your flow of what you're writing. It should not stand out. It's not just because you know a quotation, you want to bring it here. And that is why, if you have read either my book, Ethical Dilemmas of a Civil Servant, or for that matter, those articles that I'm talking of, you'll find people quoting something which gels into the argument that they're building. It's not out of the way. They use statistics. Like today, those of you saw the budget, discussions, I don't know whether any one of you had the time to look at the discussions. Some people come out very effectively because they're using statistics to buttress the point they're making. They're not starting with statistics. They're not starting with statistics, but they are using statistics to emphasize the point they're driving home. So, for example, I made this point today that this is perhaps one of the most realistic budgets that we've seen. Now, in order to emphasize the realistic part, I said that this budget does not talk in terms of creating employment to the tune of 100 million, as was talked about in 2014 when Make in India was launched. This budget talks about generating employment of 0.6 million. Now, I am using these statistics to buttress the point that this budget is realistic. Are you getting my point? I'm using statistics to prove a point that I'm trying to make. So your statistics should be in the context of what you are trying to establish. Okay. Similarly, if you want to quote, so my book, Ethical Dilemmas of a Civil Servant, ends with खुदी को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से खुद पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है. If you read the last chapter, this couplet is the essence of that last chapter. In fact, that's the essence of the entire book. If someone asks me, I begin the book with the couplet, मुख्तसर सी जिंदगी के अजब से अफसाने हैं, यहाँ तीर भी चलाने हैं, परिंदे भी बचाने हैं. Now, I am trying to evolve from there of the dilemma that a civil servant faces, and then say that he can overcome these dilemmas by making his khudi buland. And that comes at the end of the book. And the entire book is in between. So that's how it works. Then, how do you formulate questions? When you formulate questions, you have to look at the implication of what is being sought. So there could be political implication. So again, I'm going back to cure of evils of democracy is more democracy. So whatever I suggest, what I'm suggesting of more democracy, what are going to be its political implications? There could be economic implications. There could be social implications. There could be international implications. So if you look at primarily the political, social, and economic aspect of an essay, your 3 paras you will get very easily. Because almost everyone, I'll come to these implications as I take the topics. So what I'm trying to suggest to all of you is, if you can structure your thoughts in sockets that you know what you're doing, essay writing becomes very easy. Now, do you have any questions before we start discussing each essay now? Any question, you can raise your hand and then, or we can go to the essays. Okay, I don't see any hands right now. Oh, there is one. Piyush, please go ahead. Please speak in the language that you are going to write the exam. If it's English, speak English. If it's Hindi, speak Hindi. If there is a third language, then tell me, we'll see how we will work it out. Okay, Piyush, go ahead. Unmute yourself. Piyush Tiwari, you have raised your hand.
No,
Yes.
sir, I didn't raise. No, sir, I didn't raise my hand. Sir.
Oh, you didn't. It's my cursor. It's there, so I thought it was a hand. No problem. So what we will do now is Amir Said here? Amir Said. Oh God. How can people not appear after having given?
Yes,
Amir
sir.
Said.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Said Amir? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you have suggested this topic, cure of evils of democracy is more democracy. And mind you, my friends, as I said, I will take topics from each segment. So this is the political segment part. And after this topic is discussed, we can take up any other political segment and we'll see how it develops. So, I mean, Sayyid Amir, how would you go ahead, given the backdrop that I've given, how would you go ahead writing an essay on this?
Sir, like you said that first of all, I will introduce the topic that is democracy. Because all the essays I write, I plan a framework that is on the basis of a flow chart. So I will make a flow chart because that helps me to arrange my thoughts and organize it in a proper way. So I will make a rough flow chart. In that, I will first write the introduction. And the introduction will be about the democracy. That what democracy means.
What is your flow chart in this? What is your flow chart in this?
Sir, first of all, I will introduce the topic with quoting Abraham Lincoln that democracy is for the people, by the people, and will start the topic. And after dealing with the topic, and I will integrate it with Indian democracy, because India is the biggest pattern of democracy in the world, and it is one of the places which has genuine democracy since the democracy was a word itself. So I will now relate how the democracy came in India and how the various parties while making the constitution
just hold on. Amir, please keep listening to me. I'll ask you to stop because I would like to explain a few things that he's trying to mention here. That's how the conversation will grow. So keep your eyes and ears both open. Now, what here Amir is doing, he's trying to get the historical perspective of a particular idea. And that's a good way of approaching an essay. There's no harm in spending a para on the historical evolution of an idea called democracy. But be careful about when you talk about democracy, because democracy as it was understood during the time of Socrates, or the democracy that is being talked about then, is different from democracy of today. So be careful about it. But yes, that's a good way of going about it. Evolution of democracy, whether you take it in India or you take it worldwide, you take it in England, wherever you take the concept of democracy, how it evolved. And as you go along, my suggestion to you would be, since the fundamental topic is that of evils of democracy, you should continue to mention the evils of democracy as they existed. And hence it is important to outline the evils before you start discussing the details of democracy of historical content. Why? Because your ultimate objective is resolution or finding solution to the evils of democracy, isn't it? The topic ultimately says the solution to evils of democracy is more democracy. So you have to explain what democracy was, what democracy, when it was, what were the evils, what democracy is, what are its evils now, and how are you going to overcome those evils? Is more democracy the answer to those evils? Now, in order to answer the ultimate question of whether more democracy is essential for democracy, for overcoming evils, you have to define what those evils are. So, Amir, can you indicate? I take your point that you're going to the history of democracy. So, what in a sense democracy evolved, that is fine. Because the critical point in this essay is evils and how do you overcome those evils. So what, according to you, Amir, are the evils of democracy?
So, in my point of view, what I got from the topic, that the evils of the democracy. So I listed some of the evils that I find in democracy. It may be differ from various persons of opinion, but in my personal opinion, that I found that certain evils in a democracy, the biggest evil is that the people, the consideration amount of vote that they are getting as a part of representing their democratic rights, because vote is the thing that make a country democratic. So people are here, what they're doing, they are getting uh, they are bribing themselves and paying the vote. They are paying the voters, and that kills the democracy and democratic rights, because vote is the thing that makes the person eligible, the country a democracy country. So bribing that voter is one of the evil of the democracy that helps the democracy decline. The second part is the media, because the media is considered as the fourth pillar of democracy. So media is considered the fourth pillar of democracy, and media is seem to be in the laps of various political party where the election campaigns are going on, and it seems that the democracy is converted to a propaganda, and media is changing the democracy lines to the propaganda basis of election campaigns. And the third thing that I think is evil of democracy is that people are not aware of their rights, democratic rights, because while I was a part of an NGO, and when I went to the slum area, I found that the people are not aware of their democratic rights, that even they are not even aware that they are having any right to life or right to freedom of speech, because the democracy is not transcended to the lower parts of the people. I think the hierarchy of the democracy is limited to the person who are educated, and not to the minimal part of the people who are not known about democracy. So I think these are the evils that democracy has, and it is not spreading.
So,
May I proceed?
which of these evils do you think can be overcome by more democracy? So you will have to define what exactly do you mean by more democracy. And this, all of you should keep in mind. I am looking at the terms in the topic. Your essay has to revolve around the terms in the topic. So there are 4 critical terms here: democracy, evils, more, and democracy again, more democracy. 3 basically. So what exactly do you mean by more democracy? And once you understand what more democracy, by having that more democracy, which of the evils which you will be able to overcome?
Sir, what I mean with more democracy is that democracy is part of dialogue, sir. The dialogue, wherever the dialogue is there, democracy is there, sir. Because critique is a part of democracy, and critique is the only way that democracy can be cured. So, in my point of view, sir, if the person are given more aware of their democratic rights, and person are made aware of the democracy, and how the people can make a change with the help of vote, so it can be only done with democracy. Because if more democratic rights will be made them to known, and if they will be getting a place to dialogue themselves, a place to represent their top point of view, and they will be sorting their evils of the democracy, like for example media, or for example bribing
Okay,
the voters.
hold on, Saeed, hold on. Prashant has raised his hand. Can you come in, Prashant?
Hello, good evening, everyone. Sir, I just want to mention the difference between democracy and more democracy. What I will write in my essay. Sir, I would have defined democracy like that. I just want to contrast between democracy and more democracy. If democracy is people, then more democracy is conscious people. If democracy is literacy, more democracy is education. If democracy is growth, then more democracy is inclusive growth. If democracy is representation, more democracy is free and fair representation. So basically, in an idea of democracy, but that idea should be in the true spirit of democracy, then that is more democracy. I would have added, or I would have given the ending that democracy is important thing, but there are various pillars of democracy. We need to strengthen that pillars, and when we will strengthen that pillars, it will become more democracy. So, sir, this would
Wonderful.
I would have given.
So, wonderful. So as you sequence, now I'm coming of sequencing of your answer, of your essay. This would be before you start discussing how this strengthening of the democracy will actually overcome evil. So how have we sequenced it? We've given an introduction. We've defined what democracy is. Just hold on.
Sir, I would.
You just hold on.
Sorry, sir.
I'm trying to sequence it. You've given an introduction. You've defined democracy as it is traditionally understood. You've taken a historical perspective. Then you have defined the evils of democracy. Then you have come to what is more democracy. And the final para would be how that more democracy will overcome evils. So I'm not trying to enable you to write this essay. Please try and understand. I'm trying to help you analyze a topic for you to write an essay. Now I'm repeating it here. During the course of discussion, it clearly emerges that we'll have an introduction. Then we'll talk about democracy and historically how it has evolved. Then we talk about the distortions or evils of democracy. What they could be, we can discuss at length. We don't have time to discuss at length. I can give you some idea, but that's not material for me here. For me, material is how do you sequence your essay? I hope all of you are understanding what I'm saying. Can I see a few nods of heads? If you're not understanding, please stop me, because for you to understand how to approach an essay is more important than anything else. You know, some people keep asking me, sir, essay de dijiye, essay le. Nahi, aapko ratna nahi hai. You don't have to learn an essay by heart. No, you should have developed the art of writing an essay. And art is not very difficult. You don't have to have flowery language. You have to be able to express yourself in a logical manner. So I'm repeating here: introduction, democracy, history of democracy, okay, evils of democracy, more democracy, how more democracy will take care of evils. So I'm taking 5 broad questions, and if I write 200 words on each these questions, I have to write 1,000 words. Essay is ready. Is everyone comfortable with this explanation, or someone has some questions? So Sharmila, please go ahead. You wanted to say something.
Yes, sir. I wanted to add something to the structure that we decided. Sir, I'd like to take the help of the preamble and the way in which our constitution was divided. So we have political democracy, which is guaranteed through the fundamental rights, and the social and the economic democracy through the DPS space. So I would divide it into 2 different parts, wherein I'll be talking about the evils that are there for the political democracy and regarding the social and economic democracy. That is how I planned it, sir.
Wonderful, Sharmila. I think you've gone a notch ahead of what I was saying. Now, she brings in a very good dimension, which I had mentioned earlier. For each topic, if you look at the political, social, and economic aspect, your essay writing becomes that much easier. And she has done it wonderfully. Here, then, instead of just writing evils of democracy, you are saying what is wrong with political democracy, what is wrong with the social democracy, what is wrong with the economic democracy, and how greater democracy will help take care of, if not all. And if I were you, don't give a conclusive response. They say the likelihood is that these problems will be sorted. Don't say they will be sorted out. Now, mind you, this language is very important. At your stage, you can't be very definitive in your response and say this is the answer. Answers are not so simple. So you'll say probably this will be able to solve the problem. And if you can give examples of how social inequality has been sorted out through more democracy, it will help. So one example of increasing political democracy for social democracy, for economic democracy, it will work. So for example, if you have, if everyone is absolutely equal, then those who have been traditionally unequal will remain unequal. So you come up with a new format of democracy where social democracy the objective of social democracy gets fulfilled. So that evil of the democracy, which treats everyone absolutely equally irrespective of the past, gets taken care of through more democracy. So you have to go into these details, and I'm so glad, Sharmila. Any other points, Sharmila, you want to make, or should I go to someone?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Good one. Jayashri, you wanted to say something.
Sir, should this essay revolve around the Indian context? As only, like she said,
it will help you, because my contention would be 1,000 words. If you don't make a context out of India, then you will have to write 5,000 words. Because how it has evolved in England and how it has evolved in France, they have different ways in which they have handled the evils of democracy. You can give some examples from those countries, but keep your focus on India. That's how I will do it, because I have only 1,000 words to write the essay on. Okay?
okay, sir.
Any other question before we go on to the next one? No other question. Okay. So can we go on to the next topic? Next topic was by Vibhuti. This is a philosophical topic. Hesitation is the worst of all crimes. Vibhuti, are you there? Vibhuti?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Vibhuti. I thought Vibhuti was an effeminate name.
No,
okay.
sir.
It happens with Aishwarya, Sharda, all.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Vibhuti. Yes.
Okay, sir. So, seeing the trend of the UPSC that it is going into the philosophical topics, so I suggested this topic. It was said by Lord Krishna to Arjun on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, while he was going to face Kauravas, that hesitation is the worst of all crimes. So, I'd like to start from the perspective from where it came, that battleground of Kurukshetra, Arjuna's dilemma on fighting the Kauravas, and the need to fight a war which he thought was lost before even the fight had begun, and then Krishna's sermon that about the uh, detached attached action, like what has to happen, and coming into the present context of our politics or our social structure, it can be applied to the indecisiveness of a political class and bureaucratic class when it comes to taking hard decisions, or when it comes, and especially when the populist decisions are doled out as means to win elections. And
Just hold on. Just hold on. I'll keep questioning you as you go along. Okay.
okay.
How is a populist decision a hesitation?
Populist decisions are exclusively to win elections and then not delivering on the promises.
There's no hesitation. They're very clear about it. They want to take a decision public. They take it and do it. How is it a hesitation? See, we must understand the topic very clearly. Otherwise, you will impute certain explanation to a topic which does not exist. I am still trying to understand how a populist decision is a hesitation. Because the topic says hesitation. So you must understand what hesitation is. And you must understand, just hold on. You must understand what hesitation is. You must understand what a crime is. And you must understand why is it worst of all crimes. These are three. Yes. See, I'll keep I'm not going into the details of a subject or topic. I'm trying to make you understand how to approach a topic. So in this particular topic, apart from the history or Mahabharata that you say, that's all right. But you have to you have to understand these three primary points that are made here. What is a hesitation? And without answering that question, you won't be able to write this essay. You have just explained to me what happened in Mahabharata. But in the present day context, what is hesitation? Is hesitation a crime? And if it is a crime, is it worst of all the crimes or they are worse than that? That's the question you'll answer. Okay. And then I will answer these questions, and in the end will say, there is no doubt about the fallout or the problem as has been brought out in Mahabharata also. But it may be too far-fetched to call it first of all, a crime, and then worst of all the crimes in the present day context. Though in the context of Mahabharata where it was said, it was perfect because it was spoken in that. See, you have to understand. Now let's go one by one. Let's understand what hesitation is.
Indecisiveness dilemma on whether to proceed with a certain.
Why does it happen? No, I'm asking. See, I'm raising these questions for you to answer these.
Yeah.
I say, why does hesitation arise?
When we are not sure about whether to proceed with a course of action or not.
Why aren't we sure of proceeding? I'm probing you further. See, my friends, please listen to these questions carefully, because once you write down these questions, you'll be able to come to a specific conclusion, write an answer on any topic. I'm telling you today, you give me a topic on this computer laptop should be thrown out of this room. This is the topic. Should the laptop be thrown out of the room? I'll write 1,000 words. It's as simple as that. I want you all to come to the level of writing on this hair that we have on our head should be shaved off every day. Write an essay on it. You should be in a position to do that. If you are able to do that, you'll score well in the essays. So that's why I'm trying to ask you to explain. Now, you said that hesitation is as a consequence of dilemmas, as a consequence of uncertainty. But there is a further cause of it. Why is there a dilemma?
When the decision makers or...
Since we have paucity of time and we have many subjects, let me answer also these questions. This dilemma arises as a consequence of my inability to appreciate what is right and what is wrong. And that is based on my knowledge and understanding, my wisdom. Knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. So if I have the right knowledge, if I had the right wisdom, we'll be able to take the right decision. So if you don't have knowledge, if you don't have wisdom, then you are in trouble. It may still not be a crime, but you could be in trouble. Hence, in order not to hesitate, you have to have clear understanding, you have to have knowledge, and that's extremely critical in your life, as it says here. Now, how does it become a crime? It becomes a crime because in the absence of knowledge or understanding, you will take a wrong decision. And wrong decision will impact you and others as well. And that is how it has the potential to become a crime. Now, I did not think about this at all. I'm just thinking as I'm talking to you. So your mind has to start understanding each concept or each term in an essay, especially if it's a philosophical one, and then start questioning. That's why I said in the beginning, say why, how, and you answer those questions. And if you have correct articulation and correct understanding, you'll be able to answer these questions. So I'm repeating here. I'm saying, what is hesitation? You correctly defined what is hesitation. Absolutely correctly defined. But then the question is, why is that hesitation? And I said that it is as a consequence of either inexperience or lack of knowledge, or lack of wisdom. Once you have these, then you will be able to take a decision confidently.
So
The
one more
decision,
point.
yes,
Yeah, inability to consider multiple perspectives.
absolutely. So if you don't have a perspective, if you don't have knowledge, you will take a wrong decision. And the chances are that wrong decision may be criminal, not in the strict sense of law. That's you got to, that I come to the second point of what is crime. Because I have spoken about hesitation a bit. Now I'm talking of crime. What is crime? Crime does not necessarily mean here or there in terms of Indian Penal Code. In terms of the devastation, in terms of the consequences of that hesitation, you don't call it a crime. So hesitating and not taking a decision is virtually criminal also in the context of civil servants. There you are giving a different context to it because you are a budding civil servant. You know, much of the criticism of the civil servants is on account of inability to take a decision, and you have this infamous red tape that comes in. So you are giving a color to a topic which you are able to relate or contextualize to your becoming a civil servant. It will be appreciated phenomenally. I mean, these ideas are coming as I'm talking to you.
Yes. So when the 2G scam broke out, then there were news that many civil servants at the central level were hesitant to put their sign on the files, like things were not moving as it should have been. So there were a lot of news reports about this, that they did not want to implicate themselves because of a certain wrongdoing, certain wrong policy decision, or certain wrongdoing by a minister.
No, let me put it in slightly different context. Your convictions are born out of your knowledge. You will not have convictions if you don't have information or knowledge, and you will hesitate. And without those convictions, you are likely either to collude in a crime or be a party to a crime, or you'll not be able to resist a crime. So that's also criminal. So whether in 2G scam or in Go scam, I know of officers who didn't feel it that way, but didn't have the courage to say no because they lacked the conviction and hence hesitancy, and hence going with something which they didn't think was right. So it's not merely knowledge. You know that this is right and this is wrong, but you don't have the conviction to oppose what is wrong. You commit a crime. So if I were to conclude, I'll say it may or may not be worst of all the crimes as was in the case of Mahabharata, but certainly in a large number of cases, it could be criminal not to. And in the context of the recipient of the benefits of what government does, it is certainly criminal, because what ought to go to the common man doesn't get delivered to him. In his context, it is criminal. I may still not be hauled up in London or IPC. That's how I will conclude the essay. So I am trying to define what hesitancy is. How I'm here, since you have to write 1,000 words, you can give examples of how hesitancy, you gave one example, you can give many other examples of how hesitancy led to a wrong decision, thereby, if not direct crime, and indirect criminal act.
For example, sir, the interstate water disputes, which after the delivering, when award is delivered even by the Supreme Court, then there is a big time lag or delay in implementing that because of certain political consideration, and a lot of harm is done to farmers or what.
So you're absolutely correct. So friends, you have to look at examples to exemplify the argument that you are trying to make here. Here, the argument being made is that hesitancy leads to a lot of problems, more so in bureaucracy. And you can give 3, 4, depending on the space that you have, words that you have to write, you can give examples and keep illustrating that hesitancy leads to this, which may not be a technical crime under IPC, but in the context of the people to be benefited, it is criminal. And you can write criminal in inverted commas. Is that understood? Or somebody wants to? Manisha, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Sir, good evening, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Please.
Yeah, sir, I would like to add one more point to what hesitancy is and what it leads to. As an intermediate between hesitancy and crime, I feel there is a larger damage that has been garnered by hesitancy is it's silence. Actually, it actually silences the good men to deliver their service, and it blocks the efficiency to come out, which does a larger damage to the entire democratic setup of our country, and also it obstructs the way for the welfare schemes to get implemented. So I would also like to quote here Edmund Burke, who says that the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing.
Absolutely, absolutely. You can also quote Martin Luther King. You can quote Edmund Burke. There are many people who've spoken about it. You can quote them, because once there is also saying that, you know, it's a collusion. If you're silent, you should be speaking out. I don't remember who said this. It said that they came to so and so, you kept quiet. They came to so and so, you kept quiet. Now they come for you, and there's nobody to help you. So all this is leading to that. Here you can use quotation. In fact, in philosophical topics, which appear to be very, overbearing, and you don't know what to do about it, they're the easiest to write if you can analyze the topic. I have Aditya Dev's hand again. Adit.
Sir, one more.
Yes, sir.
Hold on, Adit. Yes, Manisha.
So one more example that I would like to, that befits this conversation, is I felt like, I just want to know if I'm wrong or correct. I would like to bring into one case study from your book that wherein you were suggesting Kalyan Singh to visit those places. So that there you could have chosen to be silent. You could have been hesitant. And you couldn't have gone ahead with your suggestion. So that also would have led to a larger damage. So I would like to use that as an
the example is okay, but Mr. Anil Swarup is not so well known, so it is better to give examples of people who are well known, so that examiner is able to relate to it. He may or may not know who's Mr. Anil Swarup and what is ethical dilemma.
Okay, sir.
The book can be useful to you for ideas, but I'm still not big enough to be quoted. So in an exam like this one, so ideas, yes, you can get a lot of ideas from the book, but quotation, hang on for some more time. Till I am alive, you won't have to do that. But after that, you can. Yes, Adit.
Yes, sir. I would want to add one point or example for it. So we can also quote the police reforms, the hesitancy of the government to implement the right from the police reforms, which are leading to crimes. So it is somewhat a result of it.
You can do that. Varun.
Sir, I want to say that we have based our entire argument on the fact that hesitancy comes from incompetence and a lack of knowledge. But a lot of times it is the fact that you have multiple ideas and perhaps too much knowledge that, to actually make a decision that you get into this sort of hesitancy. So, I mean, even people at the very top also face this problem. So I feel it is not about like a lack of knowledge all the time.
May not be. See, when you are writing an essay, you are not writing a perfect choice.
So
there is no perfect choice. There would be, in majority of the cases, having been in the civil service myself, in majority of the cases, what you say is not correct. There are some cases where you don't really know what to do. But if you have an understanding and if you have the sagacity, if you have the wisdom, you are able to come to a solution. Of course, in those cases, no one will hold you responsible because anyone else also would not have taken a call. But the problem arises when you can take a call and you don't take a call. And that not taking a call, if it is based on lack of information, knowledge, and wisdom, then you shall be held responsible. But if you have all the knowledge, wisdom, and you're still unable to decide, so be it.
Okay, and one more thing that in essays.
So what you can do is, Varun, when you write, if I were you, I would write it this way, that in majority of the cases, this is the case. There could be stray cases, but then that's not being discussed here. What is being discussed is usual. You know, when you write an essay, you're not writing even Plato was not all correct or Aristotle was not correct. No one is all correct. You're talking of what is the usual pattern of it. That's what we discuss here. So there could be exceptions. There could be situations where you really don't know what to do. But then obviously it will not be a crime. And that is why, you know, when you say, I wouldn't write it that way. I would not say that it's the worst of all crimes. In the context of Mahabharata, it may have been worst. But hesitancy, as you say, could be on account of genuine reasons where you are unable to take a decision. How can it then be a crime? So you are right to that extent.
So maybe we can devote one paragraph to this aspect also.
You can. But you have to be very careful in articulating so that you don't appear to be contradicting yourself. Okay. There is somebody here. There is a message from Shruti to me. Shruti, where are you? Why can't you raise your hand and join in the discussion rather than writing in the chat box? Where are you, Shruti? Shruti?
Sir, I think
you are in library. Okay, we'll come to that. Your questions later on. I appreciate that. Prarthana? Prarthana Garg, please. Prarthana, you unmuted yourself, but we can't listen to you.
Hello.
You very soft. Can you be louder and bring the mic closer to your mouth? No, I still can't hear you clearly. No, I can't hear you. Abhishek Chaube in the meanwhile.
हाँ नमस्ते सर. सर मेरी आवाज आ रही है क्या?
आ रही है आपकी आवाज, बताइए.
हाँ सर, मैं ये पूछना चाह रहा था कि जैसे कि जो भी एग्जांपल्स हैं, क्या अगर हमारे कुछ रियल लाइफ एक्सपीरियंस अनुभव हैं, जैसे मैं एक जॉब में हूँ, ग्रुप सी की जॉब में है, तो मैं डेली कुछ ना कुछ ऐसी सिचुएशन में आता है कि उसको भी क्या हम कोट कर सकते हैं ऐसे एग्जाम
आप कर सकते हैं, लेकिन उसको आपको थोड़ा विस्तार से इसलिए देना पड़ेगा कि अगर आप कोई ऐसा उदाहरण ढूंढते हैं जो कि किसी व्यक्ति विशेष का है जिसके बारे में लोगों को जानकारी है, तो आपको बहुत स्पष्टीकरण नहीं देना पड़ेगा, लोगों को उसको पता होगा. लेकिन आप अपना अनुभव देंगे, कोई नुकसान नहीं उसे देने में, लेकिन उसमें आपको थोड़ा विस्तार से बताना पड़ेगा अनुभव. कोई नुकसान नहीं उसे. देखिए, हम लोग कोटेशन या स्टैटिस्टिक्स या किसी महान पुरुष के बारे में क्यों कहते हैं? क्योंकि ये हम धारणा रख सकते हैं कि उसके बारे में जो एग्जामिनर है उसको भी थोड़ा बहुत पता होगा. लेकिन आप जैसे अभी मनीषा ने कहा कि हम आपकी किताब से कोई कोट कर दें, अब अनिल स्वरूप को नहीं जानता, आप कर सकते हैं, उसको थोड़ा विस्तार से फिर बताना पड़ेगा क्या है, बैकग्राउंड देना पड़ेगा. अगर आप उदाहरण जैसे लेते हैं, जैसे इन्होंने गीता का उदाहरण दिया, तो वो सब जानते हैं गीता में क्या कहा था, तो आपको बहुत बताने की जरूरत नहीं, समझ जाएंगे. बस इतना है. ठीक है, एक मिनट, I'll have to go to chat box to see some of the people who are coming in chat here, because Shruti says, sir, we can mention other crimes slightly related to hesitancy, lack of planning and implementation. Yes, you can, Shruti. You're absolutely correct. See, there is no problem in picking up an example, but what you should try and do is the person who's reading that example should be able to relate. That's very important. आपको समझ में आ रहा है, जो पढ़ रहा है उसको नहीं समझ में आ रहा है, तो कैसे काम चलेगा? इसीलिए I advise examples of such people who are known or examples that are known. You know, how is it that? Okay, Prarthana, can you be audible now? Can you try again?
Hello.
Yes, Prarthana, go ahead. You are much better now.
Okay,
You can be slightly louder.
Yes, sir. So is it better now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, sir, my point is very close to Varun's point, what he said. I was thinking that we're told not to take very extreme positions in essays or even in GS. So, should we also mention some positives that come out of hesitancy? Because I can think of a few examples. So, is this subheading correct? That
No, I would not advise you in this particular case to extol hesitancy. But what you can do is, you can give a balanced view that it is not the worst form of crime. You get my point?
yes, sir. So I was thinking in the terms of international relations, wherein in some cases India does not take a very extreme position in
no, but
in
that's not
conflicts.
hesitancy. Pratna, that is not hesitancy. That's a conscious decision not to take a decision. There is a difference between hesitancy and not taking a decision.
Okay.
It's a strategic decision not to take a decision. And you keep quiet. It's not hesitancy. You've consciously decided. You've taken a decision not to convey your view. It's not hesitancy. So I can't think of hesitancy being good. No, hesitancy can't be good.
Okay,
You have to be sure of what you're doing, especially as a civil servant. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Right. So I don't think we have, even though we just covered 2 topics and we're already running out of time. So I'll go on to the next one. Next one is by Varun. And this is also philosophical. Rest in reason, move in passion. Varun, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So, sir, the reason I sent this topic in was that although I have thought a lot about it and I have a lot of views, so this is basically taken from a book by Khalil Gibran called The Prophet. And I have thought about this at length, but I often have struggle in articulating my thoughts on this and to put them up in a concise manner, whether be it in discussions with somebody or while writing. So that is what I wanted. So I can start with what I think about it. So
no, don't talk about what you think about it. No, I'm talking of essay writing. How will you approach the essay? See, why I'm pushing you all to do that? Because it's not a general discussion on this topic. It's a question of, if you were to write an essay, what is first the structure that you'll follow, and then how would you go about writing it? That's more important for me.
Okay. So for me, sir,
go ahead, Varun.
I think I will start with the essence of this statement, and that is basically balance. And balance in the sense that there are situations when okay, you can explain that with the
Varun. Again, you are explaining the topic to me. I don't want that.
Yeah. So okay.
I am asking you to, how would you start writing? You can't start by saying balance. You can't start writing an essay saying balance.
Right.
You, as I said in introduction, you'll explain the terms that are mentioned here. And now it is Khalil Gibran. There could be a situation where you don't know who said it. You don't have to bother about it so long as you understand what is said. If you know who said it, it's better. But if you don't know it, don't hassle about it. So long as you understand what is. Of course, the context changes, because like in the previous discussion, the context was Mahabharata. And in today's context, it may not be totally true, but partially true. So you understand, you change the context. In this particular case, I think what is said here is fairly universal, whichever be the context. And hence, I don't really have to know whether Khalil Gibran said it or not. It will hold good for all times to come. And hence, you must be able to explain the terms rest, reason, move, passion. These are 4 terms. Okay. The critical was reason and passion. So if you can explain what do you mean by reason and what do you mean by passion, you will be able to set the tone for writing an essay. Because the next step would be that how can you rest in reason? First of all, whether you should rest in reason, and if yes, what are the benefits of resting in reason? And then how can you continue to rest in reason? Then next would be, what is passion? How can you move in passion? What are the positives of moving in passion? Now, if you interchange it, if you say that if you start resting in passion and moving in reason, then you could be in trouble. So that is how I would sequence my questions and start answering this question. Is that right with you, Varun?
Yes, sir, that makes sense. But the thing that I struggle with the most is the fact that you said that this is such a universal essay. So how do you basically put it in a finite number of words? How do you say what is reason and what is passion in a concise manner?
So if you don't have an understanding on how to explain reason, don't attend this. You have to understand what is reason. If you can't articulate or define what reason is and how reason comes in human mind and what it does to a human being, don't write this essay. That's why I said, if you don't understand, sorry, yes.
I have an understanding of it, but like you said, like you explain things in social, economic, political context. Similarly, is there a template to explain this thing? Because I have a number of thoughts related to this, but I don't know which thoughts to prioritize and present first.
Okay, so I'm glad you raised this issue, Varun. Everyone should listen to this carefully. What you should try and do is list down the points of those thoughts. That's how you approach. You know, I write articles, 2 articles every week. It doesn't, I mean, now I can do it. Topic comes, I write it down straight away. But it didn't happen that way. To begin with, I used to write I still do in complex topics. I write down my thoughts randomly as they appear and then take a look at it and then sequence them. Let us try and work on this. Let us see what are the random thoughts. If I were to write an essay on this, I will start by understanding what is reason and how is reason good for a human being. And here, if I can bring forth certain philosophers who talked about reason, certain people who were rational in the thinking, how did they benefit by being rational, by being reasonable? Reasonableness is a function of one's mind. Passion is a function of one's heart. Someone compared it that in a ship, the rudder, the direction that gives is the reason part. And the sails are passion because it drives it. Now, if you don't understand this, you'll never be able to write the essay. So reason is giving you a direction in life. Passion is giving you the drive in life. How both passion and reason are rudder and sails are important to take you through. Because then you can give examples of where reason becomes very important for you to take a judgment. When you want to judge anything, you require reason. And when you want to push something, you require passion. And here you can keep giving examples of in situations where reason becomes very, very important. Now, I don't know whether you read my book, Ethical Dilemmas of a Civil Servant.
I've read
and you've read the book. There is a chapter, very interesting chapter, on where there is a person who was kicked out of District Cooperative Bank, and I got him into the bank. Now, there you will find both reason and passion working in tandem. You know, I worked out a rational case for him coming back to the service, but I wouldn't have done it if I didn't have emotional attachment to what was going on. Because he was emotionally hurt. I was emotionally attached that a person who has recovered from his wrong, should he not be given? So that is there. Take another example. If you look at some other, I mean, I'm giving my own example. You can take other examples also. If you look at any leader of the world, it is reason that enables him to take a decision. And it's the passion that helps him to implement that decision. So when you decide, you are using your faculties of your mind. Now, when Churchill appealed to the people of England during the World War II, or when Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose asked for blood from nation, he was appealing to the passions. He was driving an idea which was based on reason. That why should India become independent? You take anybody. There is a combination of reason and passion that makes a man successful. And hence, just reason doesn't work, just passion doesn't work. Passion drives you, reasons enabled you to analyze. Now, I'm giving you all this input for you to then sequence your thoughts accordingly. Anyone wants to come in here? I see Vibhuti's hand there. or is it the previous hand still there?
No, sir. So, sir, I would like to add to what he said, that a quote which I read somewhere, that the biggest tragedy of our times is that the fools are full of confidence and the wise are always unsure about everything. Because I think that fools are so full of conviction, and I won't say passion, but they have a very limited understanding. So they always give their everything and move towards a certain course. And the wise men, they are always unsure that which way to take, and they are maybe they are so they rationalize every course of action and decision that they could not arrive at any conclusion.
No, wise men come to conclusion.
Yeah.
They are unable to implement that because they lack the passion to implement. See, try and understand.
Okay.
You know, reason enables you to take a decision. The first example that you gave is not correct. Because if you are a reasonable man, you will be able to decide what is right and what is wrong, what to do, what not to do. But to do it, you require a drive, which is passion. You understand the slight difference?
Yeah.
You know, I'm probing you all further because unless you understand the concepts clearly, don't pick up a subject like this. You will try to then prove something which is not correct. So again, people who've studied political science or philosophy will be in a much better position to attempt this subject. Why? Because they will be able to get those. I'm not getting those thinkers in, which I can, in terms of bringing in who was a rational thinker, who a rationalist, where did the rational approach fail, who were passionate people and why did they fail, and a combination of these two succeeded. So if you look at, as I keep saying, look at Gandhi. Gandhi was a classic case of a combination of reasonable and passionate. He felt for the people and that used to drive him. But his decisions were not purely based on feeling of the people. It was based on his understanding of the issue. So for understanding the issue, for analyzing the issue, for coming to conclusions, you need a reasonable mind. But to get it moving, you require passion. Am I clear on this? Syed Amir, you have your hand there. You want to say something?
Yes,
Syed
sir.
Amir? Yes.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
You are, but you shown us in silent mode, but still I can hear you. So go ahead.
Sir, my question is, suppose in the essay writing, sir, we examples, sir. So in this type of philosophical question, how can we put examples, sir? Where we need to put examples, sir? Like in a general science questions, we can exemplify various topics like on the political basis, social basis, and economical basis.
No, here you can get many examples of leaders who were passionate, leaders who were reasonable or rational. They came to the decisions through rational thinking, and then they drove that decision through their passion. I mean, I lived my life that way. When an issue comes to you, you discuss and look at it dispassionately. And then you drive it through your passion. You know, in my first book, Not Just a Civil Servant, the Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana was all devised on reason, on understanding, on details. And then it was implemented with the passion that is required to implement such a scheme. You can actually go on to explain this in the context of governance. Why do policies don't get implemented? Because one, the reason that is required for building those policy is not utilized appropriately, so you have faulty policies. And even when you have those policies sitting there, which are correct, they don't get implemented because you don't have the passion to implement it. So when you see officers or anybody doing things better than others, it is not merely the reason part, it is also the passion part. So the combination, you know, the critical point in this essay writing is that there has to be a combination of reason and passion for things to happen. Just reason will not work, just passion will not work. Passion will be like bull in China's shop, where you go in and you destroy everything, you are just moving ahead. So your direction is not correct. That direction gets given by your reason. And that's why that example of ship and sails, rudder and sails, is a very good example of the combination between passion and reason.
Sir.
Yes, Vibhuti.
Yeah, sir, can we give example of demonetization as it was
sorry?
more, can we give example of the decision of demonetization, that it was more a passionate decision rather than a rational one?
Which decision? Which decision?
Demonetization, sir.
Demonetization is a classic example, actually. It's a classic example of passion without reason.
But sir, would it be suitable to use it in an essay?
No. My suggestion to all of you is try and be not critical of the government, at least so visibly critical of the government. You know, I don't know what are the instructions right now, but this government is extremely sensitive to criticism. Earlier, anyone could get away with criticism. This government is extremely, extremely sensitive. So I don't know what the instructions are to the examiners. It could well be that if there is a criticism, avoid him, because you'll be treated as a critique of the government. So your job is not to justify what you're saying. Your job is to get into the service right now. I keep telling everyone, for the timing, forget about your own ideas. Your job is to get into the service. So don't be too critical. And demonetization is a very sensitive subject, because I know in the government, many people are guilty of it, and they realize their guilt. So if you tell a guilty man that you're guilty, you can be in trouble. If a man is not guilty, he won't have the guilty conscience, and he will counter what you say. In demonetization, they know that things went wrong. So if you tell them that you are wrong, you could be in trouble. So, I mean, since you suggested an example is right, but not for the exam. That's a good example. But then there can be many, many more examples. You think over it. You know, this is a discussion to enable you to structure your essay. I may not be able to provide every spoon feed to you. You know, I won't be able to do it. But if you think over it, you know, you have to develop that thought process of first structuring it and then filling it with examples. Once you get into this habit, I keep telling you that you can write essay on anything. That's what I want you all to get into. Prashant Goel, you have your hand up.
Hello, sir. As everyone is saying, sir, am I audible so clearly, sir?
You are audible.
Yes, sir. As everyone is saying that this topic is very much philosophical, I also accept it. But if we sober over the topic, we can see that this is the topic of our General Studies 4, which talks about emotional intelligence and intelligent quest, EI plus IQ. And we can give the example with this. Recently, India has sent the vaccine to the Myanmar. And this is both passionate example, and this is both diplomatic example. Diplomatic rationally and helping human rights, or what I can say, health is passionate.
Wonderful, so Prashant. Wonderful. I'm wonderful. You know, I'm so glad that in this discussion itself things are emerging. You know, my suggestion to all of you is that instead of wasting your time on telephone or writing stupid messages or looking at television, if you can spare half an hour for this sort of a chat with your colleague, yourself, you'll get those ideas. But ideas have to be put in specific sockets. And my job is to give you that structuring. To me, that's very important. And then you can keep getting it. Once you get into the habit of picking examples, you will, like Prashant has picked, I don't think he thought about it earlier. It's just in the course of discussion, he's got this idea and put it. That's what you got to come to. In every case, you have to come to that. Now, my suggestion here is, we have more than 50 people participating today, and I'm discussing with only 4 or 5 or 6 at the most. My suggestion is others should also participate in the discussions. It is in your own good that you do that. You know, I'm sitting here not for those 5, 6 people here. And even in the last discussion, I had only those people raising their hands. Others are, Soumya is just sitting quiet. I don't know whether she's listening to me, what I'm saying or not. Now I can see a smile on her face. You know, it surprises me because, which means that I am not catering to only just a few of you. And many of you are not even visible, despite my request. So my suggestion to all of you is, try and participate. This is an opportunity for you to share. And don't worry about it. I'm not giving you marks. And I'm not forming any impression of you regarding when you speak out. Please, you have to come out of that shell and start speaking. That is one of the reasons. Now, as I said, we are running out of time, and I want to cover as many topics as possible. So I'm jumping on to the next topic.
Sir, could you just summarize the structure of this essay one final time?
So in this, if I were to do Rest in Reason and Move in Passion, since you know it is by Khalil Gibran, you will give the context of Khalil Gibran. And in fact, Khalil Gibran himself, in that particular book, if you see, he gives this example of ship and rudder. Thereby, by saying that, you'll be able to explain that concept in the first para itself. So that is introduction. Then the next would be, what exactly is meant by rest in reason? So you explain that, what you mean by rest in reason. How is reason good for a human being? That's the next para. And here you will give examples of people who use reason. The next para would be, or paras would be, that how does passion drive an individual or an organization? Why is passion important? And next para would be, it cannot be reason alone, it can't be passion alone, it has to be a combination of reason and passion for an individual or an institution to succeed. So that would be the broad structure, and then you fill in those examples. I would suggest to all of you that as you are walking in the evening, I hope you walk in the evening for physical exercise, pick up any topic and start thinking about it. And after you walk for half an hour or whatever time you give, come down and jot down those ideas. Get into the habit of thinking. You know, I did a very conscious effort to do that. And you'll have to do that. Okay. Now, there were other topics suggested. Let me see if I have people here who can. Joyshri is here. I saw her. Joyshri, are you there? Yes. Joyshri, you're there. Okay, you had suggested yes, a topic. Yes. Research is but a blind date with knowledge.
Yes,
how would you go about
it? Sir, I would like to structure it first defining what is research and what is blind date, and then I would try to bring out a relationship, like if there is a relationship between both these keywords like research and blind date, and whether this keyword is negative or positive. Like I'll try to understand what the line is saying. Is it indicating some negative or some positive? So by that I will start writing.
See, in all such topics, these statements might appear to be extreme to you, meaning thereby, it simply read, it means research is, what the topic says is, research is a blind date with knowledge. That's what the topic is. When you say is but a blind date with knowledge, it actually means, what it conveys is that all research is a blind date with knowledge. So is it? That's the question that you should try and answer in your essay. Is research a blind date with knowledge? Meaning thereby, as I understand it, that you are not fully conversant with all the facts, and you are getting into understanding that particular topic or subject. And as you understand, because you don't have any understanding, you understand and you come to certain conclusions. That's what research is. But do you agree with this? Is it a blind date?
Sir, sorry, sir.
Okay, I think
sir, I'm not able to listen to sir, network issue, sir. Sorry, sir. I'm not able to listen to you.
Okay, so hold on. Then we'll go to some other topic and see if we can discuss the other topic here, which have been mentioned. The other topic came from Manisha. He has sent this topic, hand that rocks the cradle rules the world.
Yes, sir. Shall I go ahead, sir?
Yes, please.
This statement is an excerpt from the writing of William Wallace, who wrote in his poem, What Rules the World? And it talks about motherhood and how motherhood can change the world. So to start about, I would speak about motherhood and how what is actually motherhood and how nurturing a kid is looked into a transformative system that can bring revolutions for the world. And in today's world, which is very topical, that talks about women empowerment, how can we use that in women empowerment, and we can link that what has been envisaged by the poet in those days, wherein the women, there were a lot of issues surrounding women, and people had negated the life of the vicinity in which the women shall operate. So to start with, I would define what is motherhood and how it can change the world. And as we go through the flow, I would sequence it like how women as a race, if we look into how it has evolved over a period of time, how some women fought the hostile conditions, and if I may exemplify Pandita Ramabai, a character in those days, how they challenged the social confinement and did what was not conventional. So I would try highlight few examples like that. And further going ahead, I would also highlight the challenges that the women faced back then, and then there are some issues related to women that are still faced today, and there are a lot of issues like in a social economic panorama, in a country like India. What are the issues? What are the challenges that actually obstructs the way of women changing the world? So I would try to even give the challenges in such a manner that it is in line with the topic, that motherhood changing the world. So what are the challenges that actually obstructs women from doing what they are expected to, what they are capable of, and extruding their potential, which they can do. And we have examples, women have made a mark, all this, like hitherto, if we see that women have done well in every field, whether it's government, whether it's science and technology. But there are certain challenges we can do much better. What can be done? Like what has been done, it is said that it's just the 50% of it. So what it takes to fill up the gap that is remaining, and what are the challenges that come? And I would conclude with the way forward, that what needs to be done, what is feasible for women to explore their potential, because there are still existing myths surrounding women, that women we know we have what is the parliament doing, what are the policy at the policy making level, what are happening, and what is expected, how they would befit the social strata, the social entire social setup of a country like India. So and I would suggest the ways about which the women can explore their way, and actually we can carve out the message of the quote, that how women can actually enable themselves with the help of government, people engagement, education, awareness, and actually transform the world, what was envisaged long back by the thinkers. And we can still keep the spirit of those women who, like Pandita Ramabai, other women like Kalpana Chawla, even in bureaucracy we have Dr. Kiran Bedi. So how can we keep the spirit of those women intact? And because women are always expected with the quality to be blessed with the quality of motherhood. So motherhood is also like nurturing a child.
Okay, thank you, Manisha. Thank you. Soumya, you wanted to say something?
Yes. So I wanted to point out that I was not aware of the fact that this, being a person who might not be aware of the fact that this is a quote from William Wallace, I just wanted to propose an alternative to the thought and the quote itself. As someone who might not be sure of who has said this in what context, it can also be interpreted as somewhere where a person might look up to a mentor, and sometimes, even though it is in the context of motherhood, as Manisha pointed out, it might also be taken and interpreted in the context of how a person looks up to a leader or a guru or a mentor. And I just wanted to know if that's the correct line of thought to go about, if I am not sure of how to, actually attempt the essay.
You can do that, but it's a bit far-fetched interpretation of what it says. It is not merely in the context of mentors. It is more specific in terms of women. You can develop it as a mentor, because even a woman is seen as a mentor in terms of the way the child grows and develops. So you can do it, but it's a bit far-fetched. Okay. I would struggle to develop that argument that you're saying. If I were to write it, I mean, if you're comfortable with it, go ahead. But I would struggle to write. I would rather follow what Manisha has said in terms of writing an essay. 1,000 words to develop on what you're saying would be difficult for me and sustain it. Because you got to write 1,000 words. It's not 200 words or 100 words that you just give an explanation and you can get away with it. Okay. Okay, Shubhrit.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Shubhrit.
Sir, I would like to add points to Soumya's perspective. So we can look the entire topic with another view. Like, for example, here, the hand that rocked the cradle, the hand can be of a single parent, a guardian, or a family, need not to be of a mother specifically. Because if a child is adopted, or they might he might lose his he or she might lose his parent in earlier age. So here can we put the perspective of a family or a guardian to that hand that rocked the cradle? Is it fine?
See, your approach is similar to one. Where is she gone now? She just switched off. So to Soumya. Soumya also has that point of view, that it not necessarily be mother, because the person who may have said it maybe have said it in the context of mother. Here is anybody who's mentoring or taking care of. So that could be mother, that could be anybody else. But if you can develop that argument that the person, a lot depends on the mentor or the person taking care, on how that person who's being taken care of evolves in his life. And if you can build that for 1,000 words, nothing like it. As I said, I would struggle to do that because I don't know. But I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong or Soumya said was wrong. I think you can do that, but you have to think in terms of what would you write in 1,000 words? How would you develop that?
So actually, even I tried to give it that dimension which they are talking, but I couldn't. I also struggled to get more points. So I thought, okay, I'll develop a template that like a mother nurtures a child. So we can use that example to derive what we can construe, and we can use that and derive other applications, like how we can.
I'm glad we are discussing this issue here, and this relates to all of you. That sometimes you can have an interpretation of a topic that is given to you. But what you have to see is not just merely interpreting it won't help. You have to write. You have to write 1,000 words. So you may be right in what you're saying, but you've got to write 1,000 words. You may struggle. If you can write nothing like it, I mean, what Soumya said or Sandhya said, Soumya said, was not wrong. I think that's a good idea. That's a very interesting take on this topic. But, I'll have to think twice to write 1,000 words. If you can work on it, nothing like it. Ranjan.
Yes, sir. I'm asking that can we give example from Mahabharata about Karna or Sri Krishna in this context? Because both of them were raised by some other mother or somebody else who had not given birth.
The topic is not mother or other mother. The topic is the care and the mentorship. The topic is basically that the person who nurtures a person. So in that sense, you can use that, because Karna also had a great foster mother who became his mother, and that's why he evolved the way he was. Krishna also had. So when you give an example, you're saying irrespective of the biological mother, and that's what the topic is all about.
Yes.
It's not merely necessarily be a biological mother. And that's where Soumya points also comes in. that the person who nurtures the other person, a lot depends on the manner in which nurturing happens. That's what the topic is all about. Okay. Now, friends, I could have carried on this, but I have two more topics which I thought I'll mention to you because they belong to different categories, not philosophical category. And they have been asked in the past. And I thought you should think over these topics. Maybe we'll discuss it during the next session, whenever we have it, provided you all are willing to participate. Depends on the feedback that you have. If you feel benefited, we'll have another session. If you feel it's not so beneficial, probably you could spend time studying rather than discussing it here. Now, there was a very nice topic which pertains to the social category. It says, poverty anywhere is a threat to prosperity everywhere. This was asked in 2018. Poverty anywhere is a threat to prosperity everywhere. Now, this is some sort of a socio-economic tinge to it. It's not a philosophical topic. Now, here, if you were to attempt a topic like this, then you must have some data at your command. That how is poverty a threat to prosperity everywhere? And you can give examples how, problems in Africa or in rural parts of the country are impacting the overall development of that particular country. Now, I'm leaving this thought to you. You have to give it a thought. As I said, I can't sit here for much longer, another 4-5 minutes I'm here. So I thought I'll leave this thought to you. The other topic which I picked up here was purely economic in nature. Impact of new economic measures on fiscal ties between Union and states of India. Now, this is an easy topic for you to do, but you must be able to structure it appropriately in terms of first defining what is the existing structural relationship between the center and the state in the context of economic measures. What is the existing relationship? Then the next would be, what are the problems in this relationship? And thereafter, the final would be, how can you overcome those problems? What are the changes that may be suggested in terms of overcoming that? So 3 broad heads or 3 broad questions. And as you go along in the introduction, obviously, you'll talk about what is poverty and what is prosperity. That is where the introduction is. And the second part of introduction would be, what is the relationship between poverty at one place and prosperity another place? And then you will go to the 3 segments that I spoke about. Now, why am I suggesting these very topics is that you pick up any topic, if you can probably structure it accordingly, the chances are that you'll do well. But as I said in the beginning, unless you are comfortable, unless you understand that particular topic, don't attempt it. Of course, like this year, if you have all philosophical topics, then you have to pick up the best that you understand. But this was a very unusual year where we didn't have topic on economic issues, we didn't have topic on social issues. There were only philosophy there.
Sir, I did not get the last topic. Could you please repeat it?
The last topic was, this was asked in 2017, impact of new economic measures on fiscal ties between Union and states of India. Now, my suggestion to you as we come to the conclusion here is that you go through the topics that were asked in the previous years. I had to, message twice for you to elicit topics from you all, which means that you're not looking at perhaps the messages or the topics before. Now, with having been equipped a bit today on how to approach a topic, my suggestion to all of you would be to have a look at these topics that have been asked in the past. So, for example, there's another topic that I've listed here. Your perception of me is a reflection of you. My reaction to you is an awareness of me. It's a very interesting topic. I'd love to write an essay on this. It's a philosophical one. It came this year in 2021. And if you structure the way that I have suggested, you will be able to write a wonderful essay on this.
So can I repeat the last?
No, you don't have to read it here. 2021 के essays निकालिए, उसमें मिल जाएगा. It's there. Your perception of me is a reflection of you. My reaction to you is an awareness of me. This is there in 2021. So, when you plan your day, you must keep some time for these sorts of reflections, where you think and organize your thoughts. Thinking and organizing your thoughts will help you answer even otherwise questions logically and better in all general studies papers, in your subject as well. Okay, so I would suggest to you that whenever you have spare time, instead of spending it elsewhere, you can relax by interacting with amongst yourself on a topic. And when you discuss even amongst yourself, don't go randomly on this. This is my idea. That is no. You have to get into the habit of structuring your thoughts. I keep repeating this point because if you can become coherent and structure your thoughts, your writing will improve. And what will also help is what you read aloud in the morning. Again, reflect on it. Your reflection is very important on what you read. And once you reflect, you'll be able to organize your thoughts. And you reflect in the language that you're going to give your exams. That's very important. Because the normal tendency is to reflect in your mother tongue. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with mother tongue. Wonderful. I think we should all have been taught in our mother tongues. But fact of the matter is you've taken a particular language in which you're going to express yourself in the examination. So you better be prepared accordingly. Any other question that you have just now before we close? Any other question?
Sir.
Yes, Said.
Sir, I had a question. Sorry, sir, I had a network issue, so I was not able to ask. Sir, about clipping the examples, sir, I wanted to ask, sir, is it what will be the better way? Clipping multiple examples and explaining the context, or giving a generic example and then dealing with the context?
No, don't give generic examples. Examples have to be very specific. Because then you'll have to explain the generic example yourself. No. If you give an example of emotional action or rational decision, give specific examples and give examples that are known. That's why I said no example from Ethical Dilemmas, Civil Servant. You can improve your understanding reading that book, but that book is not so well known for everyone to understand that example. So you have to get examples from, great men, which are known examples, not generic examples. Don't give generic examples. It won't work. Okay. Any other question?
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir. Sir, after attending your session, sir, I just have one notion while attending an essay. Sir, I cannot make a watertight compartment that this is a philosophical essay and this is a very GS type essay. For example, you have given that rest in reason, move in passion is a basically philosophical essay, but we can connect it to social dimension, economic dimension, even geopolitical dimension. So here it has become a GS type answer. Basically, we can also give it a GS type angle to it. And another, which is so-called GS type, like poverty anywhere is threat to prosperity everywhere. It's basically an economic context. Initially, we will think it. But we can also get into the social context, like without women empowering, we are not having the gender dividend. We talk about demographic dividend, not gender dividend. So, sir, is it very necessary to follow the watertight compartment between philosophical and GS?
No, not at all. Don't follow watertight compartment.
So this is my question, sir.
I'm saying the opposite. It is merely useful for structuring your thoughts, period.
Okay, sir.
These are not watertight compartments. It enables you to think in a structured manner. Today, you are speaking the language of political implication, social implication, because you've structured it that way. So it's basically structuring your thoughts. It's not watertight compartment. It cannot be. So when I say it's a philosophical topic, it's not a watertight compartment. None of us lives in a vacuum where we have a standalone system of philosophy and society. I mean, you give me any topic, I'll give you the economic dimension of it, the social dimension of it.
That's why I want to, because there is a hype regarding this philosophicals are tough, GS is easy.
No. The topic, when we say philosophical, it is in comparative sense. When I read the other topic before you, impact of new economic measures on fiscal ties between union and state, when I compare the two topics, how do I define them? One is economic, the other is philosophical. It's merely understanding of that topic. Thereafter, you can structure your thoughts the way you want to. Okay. Right. So those that are in the WhatsApp group, my suggestion to you would be, please give me your feedback. That will help me structure the program, the future programs. If you think that this has been beneficial and you want another session on select topics, we can have another session. And I would also suggest that in case you feel that you want another session on answering ethics questions, last time I had taken case studies, If it is okay with you, we can take up how do we answer questions on ethics, or maybe more case studies, depending on your feedback. We'll structure future sessions. So with these, I would await your feedback on what we are doing. All the best to all of you. Please take care. These are difficult times. Exercise, enjoy what you're doing. That's very, very important. And as I conclude, keep smiling. Smiles are always welcome. Okay. Good night. Take care. God bless you.